Greetings, students. Today we're going to be talking about Indian magic, specifically Indian magic rituals. This is the main field of my research. I wrote my dissertation on this topic, and I've got a handful of other research projects that are going on about this topic, and a few things I've already written and had published. So this is something I know a lot about. And it's not like Greece, where I don't really know Greek and I kind of speculate. I've read widely and I know a fair amount about it, but I'm not a specialist in Greek culture. And I haven't been to Africa or to rural France for that matter, like we're going to see elsewhere. When we get to modern esotericism and occultism, that's something I have a lot of experience with, and I feel that I'm comfortable in that space, but this is my main area of expertise. So let's get into it. Indian magic rituals. So today what I want to talk about is, first I want to sort of define Indian magic by going back and thinking about what is magic, how do we describe magic when we want to study it, and how do we study magic. Then I'm going to describe for you sort of the three constituent elements of Indian magic, and that is aggressive sorcery, fantastic feats and enchanted items, and conjuring of mostly female deities. We'll get into all of that in just a minute. So finally, I will give you examples that I've translated from various tantras. None of these texts have ever been translated before I came to them. All right, now, tantras. What's a tantra? Here, the word tantra refers to a book. Really, in this sense, a book of spells, sort of like a grimoire. Tantras, as texts, however, are actually quite wide-ranging and include everything from rituals to meditation to narrative tales to philosophies. What we're not talking about is what I would call neo-tantra, which I talk about in other contexts, and that's sort of modern, Western, contemporary notions of sex magic. We'll get into that later. But suffice to say, none of what is called neo-tantra, and very little of what you encounter when people say the word tantra in the West, have anything to do with these Indic religions that make use of texts called tantras. Okay, so let's take this term apart. Indian magic has two parts, Indian and magic. So what do I mean by Indian? Well, India means South Asia, namely the South Asian subcontinent. The country of India was only established when it gained independence in 1947, and they gained independence because of the colonial encounter in which the British East India Company formed in the year 1600, the first multinational corporation, and it began its expeditions to Asia, specifically to what is now India, to establish businesses. And over time, those businesses became very powerful. And in 1874, the British Crown nationalized the British East India Company. And from that point, from 1874 to 1947, Britain ruled India in every sense of the term. India became a colony. Now, India, in fact, is not an indigenous term for the area. It's not a term that Indians, in fact, would use. So the word India is like kind of a loan word, and we find it as early as Hellenistic Greek. And the loan word is Sind, meaning river, or the Sindhu River. The term for India in India that would be very common is you just hear Bharat. Bharat. So Bharat is India. I continue using the term India, Indian, and Indic out of convenience. All right, so India from Sindhu or Sind goes as far back as Hellenistic Greece, and there's contact between the cultures of South Asia and the cultures of the West since the time of the ancient Greeks. So today, what do we consider South Asia, which is a better geographic name? Well, you have Pakistan, you have Nepal, you have India, you have Bhutan, you have Bangladesh, you have Sri Lanka. All of those together, and you can include Bhutan, I guess, all of those together create what we think of as South Asia today. Remember, these countries are relatively recent, but these cultures are very, very old. All right, so what about this idea of magic? Oh my, back to magic. Well, remember that magic comes from a plural term, magoi, in Greek. Now, you may remember the story of the birth of Jesus Christ in the Christian New Testament. There were three magi, the three wandering magi who followed a star to get to Bethlehem, where Christ our Lord was born. So these magi or magoi, we would argue, are probably Persian. And the texts in the New Testament say that in the Christian New Testament, say that they are from the East. So also we can find a Persian word called magus, which is like the tarot card, magus, and that is straight up Persian term. So magic, magi, Persian encounter with Greek speakers, and the original New Testament Bible was written in Greek.